Brent was used to quiet days. He lived alone on the outer colony station called Clover Point 9. The stars above were calm, and the schedule below was simple. Wake up, check the systems, eat, and sleep. It had been this way for a year ever. Since his accident, a large engine had exploded during a routine inspection. His right leg was injured, and though he could walk again, he had trouble doing chores. The company gave him a small bonus and assigned a domestic helper as part of his recovery plan. He didn't ask for one, but the help arrived anyway. The moment he opened the door, he was surprised. Standing there was an alien girl, tall and slim, with smooth lavender skin and long silver hair tied neatly behind her head. Her eyes were large and golden, and her clothes were simple, a dark gray uniform made of soft fabric. "I am Yalari," she said with a small bow. "I have been assigned as your caretaker assistant." Brent blinked. "They sent me as Zarel." "Yes," she said calmly. "I am trained for quiet care, cleaning, and food support. May I come in?" He stepped aside and let her in. Her movements were graceful, almost like floating. She looked around the small station home, made a mental scan of the room, and nodded. To herself, "This place is tidy," she said, "but I will help keep it that way." Brent didn't know much about the Zarel species. He only knew they were peaceful, soft-spoken, and rarely took jobs outside their planets. Why one of them was working for humans, he had no idea. At first, the days were quiet. She cleaned in the morning, prepared simple meals, and checked on Brent's leg regularly. He didn't say much, she didn't either. But slowly, something strange started happening. I began dropping things. At first, it was just a spoon, then a cup, then a folded towel. Always small things, always near Brent. Each time, she would pause, bend down slowly to pick it up, and glance at him, not by accident. It felt like she wanted him to look. Brent noticed. Of course he did. "You okay?" he asked one time after she dropped a mug. "Yes," she said softly, not meeting his eyes. It slipped. He nodded, but he didn't believe her. And then it happened again the next day, and the next. Once, he caught her staring at him as she pretended to wipe the table. When their eyes met, she quickly turned away and dropped the rag. Brent raised an eyebrow. "You sure you're trained for this?" She tilted her head. "Do you not like my service?" No, he said quickly. "It's just, you're a little clumsy for someone who floats like a dancer." She didn't reply, but her cheeks turned a softer shade of violet, like a gentle blush. Brent didn't know what to do with that. He wasn't good at guessing feelings, especially not alien ones. Still, his curiosity grew. Every time something hit the floor, he found himself glancing at her hands, her movements, her soft steps. He didn't want to admit it, but she was calming to be around, and the silence didn't feel lonely anymore. One night, as he sat at the table eating dinner, she walked in with a plate of fruit slices. Just as she neared, she stumbled slightly, and one of the fruit slices dropped right onto his lap. Brent looked up at her. She didn't apologize right away. Instead, she looked into his eyes. "You dropped something," he said, more amused than annoyed. "Did I?" she asked, her voice soft like wind on glass. He didn't say anything else, just handed her the fruit back and nodded. I took it, bowed gently, and walked back to the kitchen. When she was out of sight, Brent let out a small laugh. Not one of those loud laughs, but a quiet, surprised one, like something inside him had been poked. "What are you doing, Yalari?" He whispered to no one. He didn't know it yet, but something strange and special was beginning. Brent couldn't stop thinking about Yalari's strange behavior. He tried to ignore it, told himself it was just in his head, but the pattern kept repeating. She always dropped something when he was close, and every time, she looked at him for just a second too long. He didn't want to make it awkward, so he didn't ask her again. Instead, he started watching more closely. He noticed how her fingers were always steady when she cleaned. Her hands never shook while she chopped vegetables or folded sheets. She was clearly not clumsy. One morning, she stood near the breakfast table, placing down a bowl of warm porridge. She gently turned to reach for a napkin, then accidentally knocked over a glass of water. It spilled across the table toward Brent. He leaned back in time, barely avoiding the splash. Whoops. He said. I stared at the mess with wide eyes. I will clean it, she said quickly, grabbing a cloth. As she leaned over, Brent's eyes met hers again. This time, he didn't look away. You know, he said slowly. You never drop things when I'm not in the room. Yulari paused. The cloth froze in her hand. She didn't answer right away. Brent leaned forward. So, what's going on? Is it a signal? A Zarel custom? Yulari stood up straight and folded her hands. I was told humans notice things through motion. Through accidents, it brings their attention. Brent blinked. You mean, someone told you to drop stuff to get my attention? Not exactly, she said, her voice soft and careful. I heard it in a story. One of the other assistants said humans don't understand quiet emotions. They only notice things when something breaks or falls. Brent laughed. It was a light sound, full of surprise. You've been testing me this whole time? Yulari looked down, clearly embarrassed. I apologize if it was wrong. I only wanted to understand. Brent's expression softened. You could have just talked to me. Your records said you don't talk much, she said. That you like quiet. Yeah. Well, he shrugged. You're not exactly quiet, Yulari. You're dropping spoons and cups like fireworks. A small smile touched her lips. It was the first time he saw her smile that clearly. It was gentle, unsure, but beautiful in its honesty. They sat in silence for a moment. So, he said, did it work? Yulari tilted her head. Did what work getting my attention? She looked straight at him and said quietly, yes. Brent didn't reply. He just looked at her. Really looked. Her golden eyes weren't just shiny, they had a kindness behind them, a patience that made him feel calm. That evening, things were different. Yulari didn't drop anything. Instead, she moved slowly and carefully around him, like she was waiting for something. Brent watched her more openly now, no longer hiding his glances. They talked a little. He asked her about her world, and she told him about a place with purple grass and floating plants that hummed in the wind. She said her people used soft music instead of alarms, and their cities were made of living crystal. Why did you leave? Brent asked. I wanted to see the people who made machines that roar, she said. You're kind. You create things that scream at the sky. Not always a good thing, Brent muttered. But it is alive, she said. Your way of living, even when quiet, it feels like lightning. Brent smiled at her strange words. He didn't always understand her, but somehow it felt right. Before bedtime, she brought him tea. Her steps careful. As she handed it to him, their fingers brushed for a second. Neither pulled away quickly. Thank you, Brent said. You are welcome, she replied. Eyes still on him. He didn't know what to call this feeling. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something like a warm light quietly growing between them. That night, as Brent lay in bed, he looked at the ceiling and whispered. She could have just said hello, but deep inside, he was glad she didn't. The next morning, Brent woke up to the soft sound of water running in the small kitchen area. Yulari was already up, carefully washing dishes. The sunlight from the station's window touched her silver hair, making it glow faintly. He smiled to himself. The awkward tension from before had softened into something warm. He felt curious about her, about the strange connection they were building. Yulari noticed him watching and gave a small nod. Good morning, Brent. Good morning, he replied. Thanks for the breakfast yesterday. The fruit was fresh. She bowed slightly. I am glad you liked it. I sourced it from the station market myself. Brent stood and stretched. You seem different today, less clumsy. Yulari chuckled softly. I am trying. You made me realize dropping things is not the best way to communicate. Yeah, but it worked, he said, smirking. They shared a small laugh, a sound Brent hadn't heard in a long time. Later, as Brent settled into his chair with a data pad, Yulari sat nearby, folding laundry. The quiet was comfortable now, not empty or awkward. Yulari, Brent began slowly, Tell me more about your world. Her eyes brightened. My home planet is called Zira. It is full of tall trees with leaves like glass. At night, the skies glow with many stars, and the rivers sing soft songs. Rivers sing? Brent asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, she smiled. The water flows over smooth stones. Making music. It helps our people relax and dream. Brent nodded. Sounds peaceful. Very, she said. And our cities grow from living crystal. They change shape with the seasons, like flowers. He found himself imagining such a place strange but beautiful. Yalari paused, then asked, What about your home, Earth? Brent said, It's noisy, busy, people rush everywhere. Sometimes I miss the quiet stars out here. I think we both miss quiet, she said softly. The day passed with small talks and shared stories. Brent told her about Hi's work as an engineer, about fixing engines that hummed and roared like beasts. Yalari listened closely, fascinated by the sounds and sparks he described. That evening, the station's lights flickered and dimmed. An unexpected storm was moving. Closer, the emergency systems kicked in, and a low hum filled the walls. Yalari moved to Brent's side quickly. Are you all right? Yeah, he said. Just a power glitch. She nodded but stayed close, her hand brushing his arm lightly. The dim light made everything feel different, more honest. Yalari, Brent said, I want to ask something. She looked up, eyes wide and patient. Why did you really drop those things? I mean, besides the story you heard. Yalari's face turned a soft violet shade. Because I wanted you to look at me. Why? Because I did not know how humans show interest. On Zira, we use quiet signals, glances, music, slow touches. But here, I was not sure if you noticed. Brent's heart beat faster. You wanted me to notice you? She nodded. I did notice, he said quietly, and I'm glad you did. Yalari smiled, the first real smile he had seen. It made the room warmer, even with the storm outside. The next day, the storm passed, leaving stars shining clearer than before. I no longer dropped things. Instead, she helped Brent with small tasks, often sitting close, sharing moments without words. One afternoon, Brent found her looking at a small plant he had kept on the windowsill. It's not doing well, he said. I reached out gently, touching a leaf. It needs care. Like people, maybe we both do, Brent said. I looked up, meeting his eyes. Perhaps. In the quiet of the station, a new understanding grew, slow, steady, like the rivers on Zira singing softly in the night. After the storm passed, the station felt lighter. The air seemed clearer, and the stars outside shone like distant fires. Brent and Yalari settled into a quiet rhythm, their days filled with small tasks and gentle conversations. Yalari had stopped dropping things. Instead, she moved with purpose, her steps soft and careful. Brent noticed how she watched him, sometimes not with the nervousness from before, but with something deeper, a quiet hope. One afternoon, Brent was repairing a damaged panel in the living quarters. He worked carefully, twisting wires and testing circuits. Yalari stood nearby, folding clothes, watching his hands move with skill and patience. You are very good with machines, she said softly. Been doing this since I was young, Brent replied without looking up. It's in the blood. Yalari smiled, her golden eyes shining. On Zira, we have little technology like this. We live with nature, not against it. Sounds peaceful, Brent said. But sometimes, technology saves lives. Yalari nodded slowly. I understand. Your world is different. The moment was calm. But Brent felt a shift inside. He realized he wanted to know more about her thoughts, her dreams. Yalari, he said carefully, do you ever feel lonely here? She paused. Sometimes. But being with you helps. Brent smiled, surprised by his own warmth. I'm glad. That evening, Brent cooked dinner for the first time since Yalari arrived. He wasn't skilled, but he tried. The meal was simple: roasted vegetables and bread. Yalari sat across from him, watching with interest. You cook well, she said softly after tasting the food. Brent laughed. You're too kind. They ate quietly. The only sound the soft hum of the station's engines. After dinner, Yellari stood and began cleaning the dishes. As she moved, Brent noticed something different. Her confidence was growing. She no longer avoided his gaze but met it with calm. Yellari, Brent said gently, "Thank you for staying with me. I know it's not easy." The days that followed the battle were filled with hope and hard work. Daniel, Jaya, and the villagers worked side by side to rebuild what was lost. Homes were repaired, fields were planted, and the gentle hum of life returned to the planet, despite the peace they fought to protect. Daniel knew the galaxy would always be uncertain, but with Jaya by his side, he felt ready for whatever came next. One evening, as they watched the stars from a hill overlooking the village, Jaya turned to Daniel. "Our journey started with a secret," she said softly. "Your feelings that you kept hidden." Daniel smiled. "I was scared you wouldn't feel the same." "I was scared too," she admitted, "but waiting for you taught me patience and hope." They sat quietly, hands intertwined, sharing the calm between them. "What do you want for the future?" Daniel asked. Zhea looked at the sky. "Peace for our people and for all species. A chance to build a new way, without fear. And us, we build that too," she said, leaning her head on his shoulder. Together, months passed, the village flourished, and word of their peaceful alliance spread through the stars. Humans, Kaelari, and the new alien friends worked to strengthen bonds, sharing knowledge and stories. Daniel and Jaya became symbols of hope, proof that love and understanding could cross even the widest gaps. One day, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. They invited the village leaders to speak about peace and cooperation. It was a chance to show the galaxy what they had built. Daniel and Jaya prepared for the journey, knowing their story could inspire many. At the council hall, they spoke of unity, courage, and love. They told how the beings from different worlds found each other and helped create a new future. The hall was silent, then filled with applause. Eyes that once doubted now saw possibility. As they returned home, Daniel squeezed Jaya's hand. "Our love changed more than just us," he said. "It changed the stars," she smiled. And under the endless galaxy, they knew their journey was far from over. But together, they could face anything. She looked up, her eyes shining. "You are kind, Brent, more than I expected." Brent felt a sudden warmth spread through his chest. "You mean a lot to me." Yellari's cheeks tinted violet, a soft glow in the dim light. She stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "And you mean a lot to me." For a moment, the room held only their breath. Outside, the stars blinked quietly. Days passed, and their bond grew stronger. Yellari shared stories of her childhood on Zira, running through crystal forests, listening to the rivers sing, learning the quiet songs of her people. Brent shared memories of Earth, of loud cities and crowded streets, of his family lost long ago. They found comfort in each other's tales, bridging the vast space between their worlds. One morning, Yellari found Brent sitting by the small garden he had started. A single flower bloomed, a delicate purple blossom. "It is beautiful," she said, reaching out to touch the petals. "It's the first thing I've grown here," Brent said quietly. "Like a new start." Yellari smiled. "On Zira, flowers grow when cared for. Maybe this is our flower." Brent looked at her, feeling a deep connection. "Maybe it is." That night, as they prepared to sleep, Brent noticed Yellari looking at him differently. There was no hesitation now, only a calm certainty. "Yellari," he said softly, "do you think you will stay long?" She nodded. "I want to. Not just as your assistant." "Then what?" Brent asked, curious. Yellari took a small breath. "As a friend, maybe more." Brent's heart raced. He had never thought he could find this someone who understood him, who saw past the silence and the pain. "I would like that," he said honestly. Yellari smiled warmly, a light in her eyes that made the room feel alive. In the quiet station, under the watchful stars, two beings from different worlds began to build something new, a bond of trust, care, and quiet love. A few days after their quiet conversation, the station was hit by an unexpected solar storm. The alarms buzzed softly, and emergency lights flickered as the main power struggled to hold. Brent and Yellari prepared for the worst. Yellari stayed close to Brent, her calm presence steadying him. The hum of the station was replaced by a low rumble, and the air grew tense. "We should check the systems," Brent said, standing carefully. Yellari nodded. "I will assist." Together, they moved through the dim corridors, their footsteps echoing softly. Brent felt her hand brush his arm, a small gesture, but it made him feel stronger. In the control room, they worked side by side, fixing damaged circuits and resetting backup power. Yellari's knowledge surprised Brent. She was more skilled than he at first believed. "You have helped me more than you know," Brent said quietly. Yellari smiled. "Your safety is important." After the repairs, the storm passed, leaving the stars brighter than before. The quiet returned, but something between them had changed. That night, as they sat in the low light, Yellari spoke softly. "Brent, I have something to tell you." He looked at her, curious. "I admire your strength," she said. "Not just in your work, but in your heart." Brent felt warmth spread through him. "Thank you, Yellari." She hesitated, then continued. "I was afraid at first, afraid to get close. But now, I want to be more than just your assistant." He reached out, gently taking her hand. "Yellari, I feel the same." Their fingers intertwined. A simple but powerful connection. Yellari's eyes glistened with emotion. "This is new for me. On Zira, we are careful with bonds. But with you, it feels right." Brent smiled. "Sometimes, the best things come from the unexpected." The days that followed were filled with small, shared moments. They cooked together, laughing when Brent dropped a pan or mixed the wrong ingredients. Yellari taught him songs from her world, soft melodies that floated through the station's halls. One afternoon, Brent found Yellari sitting by the window, looking out at the stars. He joined her silently. "Do you miss Zira?" he asked. "Sometimes," she said. "But now, this place feels like home." He looked at her, feeling grateful. "You made it home." Yellari turned to him. "And you made me brave." Brent's heart swelled. He realized how much she had changed his life. The quiet station was no longer lonely, and the future felt full of hope. One evening, as they prepared for rest, Yellari dropped a small box. Brent bent down to pick it up. Inside was a delicate necklace made of crystal and silver. It sparkled softly in the dim light. "It is for you," Yellari said, blushing gently. "A symbol from my people. It means trust and care." Brent accepted it, touched by the gift. "Thank you. I will wear it always." Yellari smiled, relief and happiness shining in her eyes. As they stood close, the distance between them disappeared. In the quiet of the station, two hearts found a new rhythm, one of trust, kindness, and gentle love. After giving Brent the crystal necklace, Yellari felt lighter. A new closeness had settled between them. The quiet station no longer felt empty, but full of warmth and small joys. One morning, Brent woke to the soft sound of Yellari humming a melody he had never heard before. She stood by the window, watching the distant stars shimmer. "What song is that?" Brent asked, sitting up in bed. "It is a Zarel lullaby," she said softly. "It helps calm the mind and open the heart." Brent smiled. "Can you teach me?" Yellari nodded, and for the first time, Brent tried to hum along. His voice was rough, but Yellari's gentle guidance made him laugh. It was a moment of simple happiness neither had expected. Later that day, Brent received a message from his company. They were sending a new assistant, a more advanced robot designed to help with repairs and heavy work. Brent wasn't sure how to feel. He had grown fond of Yellari's quiet presence. Yellari noticed his hesitation. "Are you worried?" Brent nodded. "Maybe. I don't want to lose what we have." She reached out and squeezed his hand. "Nothing will change what we share." When the new assistant arrived, it was efficient but cold. It worked without pause, fixing machines and organizing tools. But it did not laugh or share stories. It did not sit quietly with him or hum soft songs. Brent realized then how much Yellari's presence meant. She was not just an assistant. She was a friend, a companion. One evening, they sat together in the garden area of the station, watching a small plant Brent had been caring for. This plant reminds me of us, Brent said. Slow to grow, but strong. Yalari smiled. With care, anything can grow. Brent looked at her, feeling a deep appreciation. Yalari, thank you for staying. I want to, she said simply. You have given me a place to belong. The days passed with quiet comfort. They shared meals, stories, and dreams. Yalari taught Brent about the stars from her world, and he showed her the machines he loved. One night, as they prepared for sleep, Yalari hesitated before speaking. Brent, may I ask you something? Of course. On Zira, we mark important bonds with a ceremony. It is simple, but sacred. Would you like to share this moment with me? Brent's heart beat fast. He smiled, nodding. They planned a small ceremony in the station's garden. Yalari arranged glowing stones in a circle, and Brent brought the crystal flower he had nurtured. Under the quiet stars, they exchanged simple vows, promises to care, to listen, to be there. Yalari placed a small band of silver around Brent's wrist. This is my promise. Brent took her hand. And this is mine. In that moment, the quiet between them was full of meaning. The station felt like home, not just a place to live, but a place to love. Yalari looked at Brent with eyes full of hope. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for being you. As the stars watched over them, two souls from different worlds began a new journey together. The days after their ceremony felt different. The station was filled with a quiet joy neither Brent nor Yalari could explain. The bond they had formed was no longer just words or gestures, it was real and deep. Yalari moved through the rooms with a calm confidence. She no longer needed to catch Brent's attention with dropped spoons or spilled cups. Now, their connection was clear in every look, every touch, every shared smile. One evening, Brent was working on a small project near the window. The stars outside twinkled softly, painting the room with pale light. Yalari sat nearby, watching him. You are very focused, she said. Brent glanced at her and smiled. I'm lucky to have good company. Yalari's eyes softened. She reached out and placed her hand gently on his. You have given me much more than company. He turned to face her, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. Yalari, you have changed my life. She smiled shyly. And you have opened my heart. As the weeks passed, their routine became filled with simple joys. They cooked meals together, shared stories from their worlds, and explored the quiet corners of the station. One day, Brent surprised Yalari with a small garden space he had prepared. Delicate flowers and plants from different planets grew there. Nurtured by both their care. Yalari knelt beside a small purple blossom, her fingers tracing the petals. This flower reminds me of Zira, she said softly. It is called the Hope Bloom. Hope Bloom, Brent repeated. I like that. Yalari looked up at him, her eyes shining. It grows where there's trust and love. Brent reached out and took her hand. Then this garden is full of hope. They spent many afternoons there, tending to the plants and sharing quiet moments. One night, the station's communication system beeped softly. Brent answered, surprised to hear a message from his company. Brent, we are sending a transfer order. You will be relocated to another station soon. Brent frowned. When? In 2 weeks. He hung up and looked at Yalari. They want me to move. Yalari stood, her expression calm, but her eyes deep with emotion. What will you do? I don't know, Brent said honestly. I don't want to leave you or this place. Yalari stepped closer. Wherever you go, I will follow. Brent felt a surge of hope and relief. Really? She nodded. You are not alone anymore. In the days before the transfer, they packed slowly, sharing memories and plans. On the last night, they sat in the garden under the stars. Yalari leaned against Brent's shoulder. Thank you, she whispered, for seeing me, for trusting me. Brent kissed her forehead gently. Thank you for staying, for choosing me. They stayed like that for a long time, the quiet hum of the station their only sound. When the time came, Brent left the station with Yalari by his side. Their future's uncertain, but their hearts sure. As the new station's lights came into view, Brent smiled at Yalari. We are together. That is what matters. Yalari smiled back, her hand warm in his. Two souls from different worlds, bound by care and quiet love, ready to face whatever came next.